I'm going to go right into it. During the break, I was having a conversation with a gentleman, and it really cleared up something for me because a lot of people have been telling me that Dan Brown writes that Jesus didn't die on the cross, and that's not true. He dies in the Da Vinci Code, and then somebody had told me they heard him in an interview say that Jesus didn't die on the cross, and so I didn't know what was going on there. What it turns out, it appears that Dan Brown stated when he was being interviewed that he believes that Jesus did not die on the cross, okay, but he knew it would be too controversial, so he didn't put that in the book, okay? So it shows straight out that Dan Brown has a really messed up view about the death of Christ, such as it didn't happen, okay? But that's not the way he spells it out in his book. I guess he thought it would be too controversial, as if what he wrote wasn't controversial. Let me talk real quick about how he misrepresents ancient Gnosticism. Do you realize the ancient Gnostics were anti-woman? Christianity does not teach that if a woman wants to get saved, she has to first become a man. It's Gnosticism that taught that. Okay? You go to ancient Gnostic writings, if a woman wants to be saved, she first has to make herself a man. Okay? So the Gnostics, Elaine Pagels out of Princeton promotes a return of ancient Gnosticism. By the way, Peter Jones has written books, a Christian scholar. He's written books like The Gnostic Empire Strikes Back, where he argues the New Age movement is basically a return of ancient pagan Gnosticism with some modern twist on it. And that's exactly what Dan Brown is arguing for. So he's arguing for a New Age belief system that masquerades as Christianity. It's like Dr. Carlson was talking about. It sounds Christian. They use Christian terminology, but everything's redefined, and it's a false religion. So the ancient Gnostics were actually anti-woman. Also, even the Gnostics believed that Christ was somehow divine, but they were Docetists who rejected Christ's real humanity. But he thinks the Gnostics proclaimed a merely human Jesus. Incorrect. See, I teach history of Christian thought to 10th graders. So my 10th graders have a better grasp of Christian history and what the Council of Nicaea was all about than Dan Brown does. He and Elaine Pagels from Princeton, they act like the Gnostics were anti-elitist, we're all equal, okay? No. They were more top-heavy. We Protestants think that the Roman Catholic Church is too top-heavy, where you got one pope calling the shots, you got these powerful cardinals, these powerful bishops and stuff like that. And we believe as Protestants the priesthood of all believers, okay? So yeah, we would say Roman Catholicism is too top-heavy, but the fact of the matter is the Gnostics were more top-heavy than the Roman Catholic Church. Because the Gnostics would say, see, the Gnostics believed that, okay, you got a whole bunch, thousands of these Christians, but only the elite group of those Christians were ready for the gnosis, the secret knowledge. Only a few could receive this secret knowledge. The rest were not ready for it. So they were even more, there's some people, in fact, most people, just could not become full-blown Gnostics. It's only a select group. And whereas early Christianity taught that anyone who trusts in Jesus for salvation could be saved. They confused sexually promiscuous goddess worship with Gnosticism. They're not compatible. Hear me out on this. It's a little bit more complex than the way it says it in the notes. But Gnosticism and pagan promiscuity are mutually exclusive. They contradict each other, okay? Most of the Gnostics, because the Gnostics believed the realm of the spirit is totally good, the realm of the flesh is totally evil. That's why they believed that God could not become a man, therefore Jesus only appeared to be a man, but wasn't really human. Dan Brown appears to be totally oblivious to this, okay? So for the most part, the Gnostics were asceticists. They said you beat the body or deprive the body, neglect the body for spiritual gain, because the realm of the flesh is totally evil. So most Gnostics promoted celibacy. Don't get married, don't have sex, okay? And that will make you more spiritual. Now, there were some Gnostics who were sexually promiscuous. They were in the minority, but here, listen to how the distinctions they drew. They said, well, since the flesh is totally evil, it can't get any worse, so it doesn't matter if we're sexually promiscuous. But the important thing is, even those Gnostics who were in the minority, when they were involved in sexual immorality, it was not for the purpose of gaining spiritual enlightenment. So the Gnostics either believed that human sexuality in the whole realm of the flesh was counterproductive to spiritual enlightenment, or they believed it was a non-factor. They did not believe, like many ancient pagans believed, that through sexual promiscuity you can be spiritually enlightened. Also, Gnosticism can only be explained as a perversion of some of Paul and John's teachings, like light versus darkness, spirit versus flesh. See, the early church fathers tell us right about midway through the 2nd century AD, right around 150 AD, all of a sudden, between 150 and 200 AD, you find early church fathers refuting these Gnostic guys, and the early church fathers said these are heretics that came from within the church. Now, our brilliant liberal scholars couldn't accept the narrow-minded views of the early church fathers, so they said, well, of course that's not true. Gnosticism either started at the same time Christianity started, or it predates Christianity. Problem is, we could never figure out when it started because it made no sense. It just popped into existence already with Christian themes, but a twist on those Christian themes. And so now the current trend in scholarship dealing with Gnosticism is that it can only be explained as a heretical offshoot of Christianity. In other words, original Christianity was what we find. First and second generation Christianity is what we find in our New Testament today. Gnosticism was a heresy that came a couple generations later. It had its start and then didn't start picking up steam till another generation after that.